This is ceremony 5.5, and it's the commitment ceremony of Dan and Mariana, and I am Tara Kilgus. All right. Good morning, everyone. We're almost ready to begin. I'd just like to remind you all now to place your devices on silent for the ceremony. Welcome. My name is Tara, and I'm a registered marriage celebrant here in Australia, and I'll be officiating today's ceremony. I'd like to thank you all for coming along and extend an extra special welcome to the Cortez family who have traveled from Spain. Queensland has once again come through with some fabulous weather and picturesque scenery for our tourists. We hope you enjoy your time in Australia. Now, with your permission, Mary and Dan, I will share the story of how you two found each other. I believe it is fair to say that Dan and Mary met under some unusual circumstances. Dan, who you all know is an avid rock climber, traveled to Spain in 2015 to take on a very famous climb called the Switch Saddle. Upon entering the country, Dan was stopped by customs. Customs had found some explosive residue on the exterior of his luggage. Dan was instructed to wait in a line of chairs while the authorities assessed the entire contents of his suitcase. Meanwhile, a beautiful Spanish woman was pushing her luggage trolley through the airport after returning from a ski trip to North America. As she was walking, she came upon an unattended toddler. Mariana looked around for the parents of the child, but there was no one in sight. So she scooped the child up and wheeled her trolley towards the row of chairs. She asked the man seated there if he would mind watching her trolley while she looked for the parents of the lost child. And the man, Daniel, agreed to watch the trolley. Mary eventually found the missing parents and returned to the row of chairs to get her bags. She thanked Daniel for having kept an eye on them and then noticed his Australian accent. Daniel mentioned that he had come to Spain to climb the saddle, and Mary's eyes lit up. They spent the next half hour chatting about local climbing spots, and Mary gave Daniel some local advice. She and Daniel tentatively agreed to meet up for a climb if and when he was ever allowed to enter the country, which in time he was shortly thereafter. Apparently, explosive residue is a very common thing that gets found on the external side of people's luggage. But everything inside the suitcase was legal, and he was ultimately welcomed into Spain. A lost little boy, a stringent customs agent, were the catalysts for these two young adventurers to cross paths. Good fortune moves in mysterious ways sometimes, doesn't it? Daniel spent a large part of his time in Spain climbing with Mariana and her friends. And before hopping on his return flight to Australia, Daniel had convinced Mary that surfing would be her next grand adventure. And there was no better place to learn to surf than on the world-class beaches of Australia's east coast. So, within a few short months, these two adventurers were meeting up again, this time in the Brisbane airport. Mary was a natural surfer, and after a glorious month of chasing waves from Noosa to Coffs Harbour, the sad day came when Mariana had to return to Spain. By this time, Daniel was sure he'd found someone special. But Mariana was still not convinced. Daniel devised a cutting plan and applied for a job teaching English in Barcelona. It took a couple of years, but eventually Mariana agreed that her and Daniel had become more than just friends. They were engaged on Valentine's Day, and now here they are, back on Australian soil to celebrate their lifelong commitment to one another. Now, before Dan and Mary say their vows, Mary's sister Elise will come forward to read a poem simply entitled Marriage. Thank you, Elise. Now we imagine Elise reading her poem. And thank Thank you, Elise. That was beautiful. Now it's time for the vows. Mariana Esme Cortez, do you this day take Daniel James Smith to be your partner along the road of life?
I do.
Please place this ring onto Daniel's finger and say your vows to him.
Dan, today I am the luckiest girl in the world. I have found a partner for adventure and a safe place to rest. You are kind and loyal and brave, and today I promise to treat you with love and tenderness for all the days we have together in this life.
Daniel James Smith, do you this day take Mariana Esme Cortez to be your partner along the road of life?
I do.
Please place your ring onto her finger and say your vows to her.
Mary, you amazing Spanish creature, I love you. You are like... just chilling out. No one else I have ever met, I'm batting way above my average here, and I know that. I promise, Mariana, to support you and stand by you. I will be here through.
It's okay, take a minute if you need it. It's okay, no rush.
Thick. Just get there.
Here's a tissue.
Thanks. Thick and thin. Thank you very much. I promise to make sure the two of us have a good time growing old together.
With that said, it is my privilege to pronounce you husband and wife in Australia. Daniel, you may kiss your bride.
Kiss.
All right, folks, we're almost done. Just a couple announcements before we close. Mary and Dan would like to let you know that immediately following their ceremony, they're hoping to take a group photo down on the beach just over here. Their photographer, Allie, is going to stand up here on the grass so she can get the shot. And if you'd all be so kind as to remove your footwear and then head down onto the sand after we finish up, that would be great. They'd also like to remind you that their reception will commence at 1 p.m. on the top floor of the Belvedere Hotel at Woody Point, which is just to our north. You can follow the water all the way there, keep the beach on your left, and it's about 6 kilometers away. Well, Dan and Marie, it has been my pleasure getting to know you both over the past few weeks. You are a fun-loving and somewhat crazy young couple, and I know you've got a lot of fun coming your way in the future. I want to thank you for letting me play a part in today's celebration, and now, without further ado, I present to you all Mr. and Mrs. Smith Cortez. Woo!